Lisa, tell me a story.
Tell your friends that I'm
story?
turning into a Smurf.
Yes.
Anyone a story?
Go, Lisa, go.
Well, I have lots of stories, but you wouldn't be interested in most
I
of
am.
them.
Tell me a bedtime story.
A bedtime story?
Yes.
Off the top of my head?
Yeah.
Yes.
Aren't you
Okay.
supposed to be like artistic or something?
Well, I usually think about them for a while. Okay, once upon a time.
That's how they always start. That's the best starting.
Once upon a time, there was a bluebird.
I like Bluebird.
And the
This is a good
bluebird
start.
didn't know how to fly yet, 'cause he was just a baby.
Aww.
So he was sitting in the nest with the other two bluebirds that were his brother and sister. And his mom had took off for the last time, pretty much saying, if you can't fly out here and fly with me, then you're stuck there, pretty much, because I'm not coming back again.
Aww.
So, because that's what mommy birds do. So the mama bird takes off, and baby bird number 1 takes off, and baby bird number 2 takes off, and they flutter and stumble around for a bit through the air, and it's kind of comical, but eventually they right themselves and get going after the mama. And the bluebird sat in the nest all alone, because he was very afraid, because it was oh so far down to the ground. And there were many animals down there, such as rabbits and squirrels, and all sorts of things that could eat him up. Not that rabbits and squirrels would eat him, mind you, but they're much bigger than he is right now. So he kind of puts around in the nest for a little while, and then all of a sudden, above him, he hears this really loud, raucous noise that won't go away. It's like a monotonous kind of pecking noise. It's the loudest pecking he's ever heard. And he looks up, and there's this big black bird with a red crest on his head and the longest beak he's ever seen. "What are you doing?" he asked. The bird looked down at him and said, "I'm getting food. What are you doing there in the nest all by yourself?" And the little bluebird said, "I'm afraid to fly," because he was bluntly honest like that. And the bird above him said, "Why on earth are you afraid?" And then the bluebird suddenly remembered he wasn't supposed to talk to strangers.
How many morals can we put into this story?
So he asked the bird above him what his name was, so that he wouldn't be a stranger anymore. And the bird said, "I am Mr. Woodpecker."
Wow, Pecker for short.
"What's your name?" Don't interrupt the story.
Sorry, it's a good story.
So he says, "I'm Mr. Woodpecker. What's your name?" And he says, "I am Baby Bluebird." And he says, "Pleased to meet you, Baby Bluebird. Can I call you something shorter, like Blue or Baby?" He says, "I don't care." So Mr. Woodpecker calls him Baby and says, "Why are you afraid to fly, baby?" The Baby Bluebird says, "It's so far down to the ground. What if I can't fly and fall? I will die." So Mr. Woodpecker says, "Well, if you never try, you'll never know, will you? What would you prefer, dying or staying in this nest for the rest of your life and starving to death?" And the Baby Bluebird said, "Oh, I don't want to starve to death." And then Mr. Woodpecker said, "Well, the only place to find food and to be with your family is to leave that nest. And if you don't try, you'll never know." And then he flew away. Baby
He
Bluebird.
wasn't very helpful.
Well, Baby Bluebird had been given much to think about, so he thought for some time, putting around the nest some more.
So he jumped out of the nest and fell to his death, right?
No, you can't interrupt the story.
No, sorry.
Stop, Katie.
So he goes to the edge of the nest again and peers down, very nervous, his little birdie legs shaking, and then all of a sudden, this giant furry face pops up in front of his head. And it is not a giant, enormous furry face like a squirrel. It's a little smaller. It's actually a big fat caterpillar that says, "Hello, why are you still in your nest?" And the bluebird said, "I am afraid to fly. I'm afraid to fly."
Because he's bluntly honest like that.
Because he's bluntly honest like that. And the caterpillar said, "Why on earth are you afraid to fly? You're a bird. Every bird can fly."
Even a caterpillar can fly.
But he doesn't know that yet.
We're not there yet.
Stop, Katie.
Stop rushing.
Spoil the ending?
So the Baby Bluebird said, "Well, you see, if I fly now, I could fall to my death. And Mr. Caterpillar said, well, if you don't try, you'll never know. And then he scurried off and made a cocoon somewhere.
But did not fly because that was totally obvious.
No, that's a tangent for another time. And then Baby Bluebird...
The story has really big words in it.
Baby Bluebird
I'll draw you a picture.
was very nervous, and he decided he should try and fly because he was starting to miss his mom, and he was getting very hungry. So he goes up to the edge of the nest again.
His knees were shaking before. Are they still shaking?
They're still shaking.
Birds don't have
And
needs.
all of a sudden, this big gust of wind comes up and blows him over the side of the nest. And little Baby Bird's tumbling and flailing his wings about and screeching and chirping, and he...
You should act it out. Oh, never mind.
He's going to die. And then all of a sudden, he's caught up by something soft.
on my face.
Stop interrupting the story.
Please. I was hoping the bird would die.
No, he
have
was
a
caught up
ending.
by something soft and feathery and went sailing off into the sky, and he opened his eyes and looked down, and it was a
That's Mr. Peck.
giant moth. A humongous moth.
Eagle moth?
It was an eagle moth. And the moth said, "Hello, baby bird. What were you doing falling to your death?"
Because he's bluntly honest.
And the baby bluebird said, "I was trying to fly because I was hungry." Because he was bluntly honest like that. And the elephant moth, not elephant moth.
Whoa! It got bigger. It's
The eagle moth
huge!
said, "Well, maybe you weren't ready yet." And the bird said, "But I was oh so hungry, and everyone told me that it would be a good idea, even though everyone is really only two creatures." And then the eagle moth said, "Well, maybe you're not meant to fly. Maybe you're meant for bigger and better things than flying." And the baby bluebird said, "What could possibly be bigger and better than flying?" And the eagle moth says, "I will show you." So they flew off,
Sex.
and it took them down.
Yes.
But you just like tangent and all those huge words. Bluntly honest.
No.
Kids do not know bluntly honest.
No. Shut up. You want me to keep going or not? Oh my gosh, you're recording this.
Yes, that's the best part.
Okay, well,
Gotta copyright it somehow.
I gotta,
It's mine.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna finish. I was gonna finish, but you interrupted, and...
Actually, we're only down to like 15. Only we're down to 10 now, so.
the eagle moth kept flying. They flew for days. Actually, really, it was only like 3 days, but it was a long way for the eagle moth to fly. The baby bluebird was very curious as to where they were going, but he didn't ask anymore.
Isn't he hungry?
He's very hungry. But
Yes,
if he
he
tried to
is.
eat again,
Hungry.
but if he tried to eat again, he would fall to his death. And he trusted the eagle moth, even though they had only just met.
I think the eagle moth is God.
The eagle moth,
is the baby bird's father.
one day, do you want to tell the story?
No, tell it, Lisa.
Finish the
I'm
story!
sorry.
Finish the story!
My story ended with the bird falling to
Me
his death.
too, but go on.
So the baby bluebird, he's very much enjoying the flying. It's everything he thought it would be, but the eagle moth
He's
kept
doing all
going.
the
They arrive eventually. They come upon a mountain range, and the eagle moth takes them to the top of the highest mountain and looks down
Tallest peak.
and says, "Look at the land around you."
Everything the light touches is my kingdom.
It's my kingdom. One day it will all belong to you. And the baby bluebird said, "What? What you talking about?
What you talking about, Willie?
This is crazy. I can't write all this. I can't even fly." And the moth said, "But you can. You were flying all along." And then he evaporated into misty air stuff.
Ooh!
The baby bluebird suddenly started flapping his wings, and he found he could fly, and he had in fact flown the entire way on his own. He was just so
3
hungry that
days.
he was delusional.
So he's schizophrenic.
No, delusional.
He had been so hungry that he'd imagined the eagle moth, because eagle moths don't actually exist. And
Doing Lord of the Rings.
Sorry, Katie.
and so he was on top of this mountain and looked around, and everything he saw was full of possibilities and full of food, and he just knew he would find the meaning of his life one day soon, and everything was